Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the SarCAST podcast. Today, we got another special guest. It's been a while since he's been here on the show, but it's Arashi. Arashi, how you doing, man? Welcome back to the show. Well, I'll tell you guys the reason as to why I invited Arashi again, because we got some spicy news that we'll talk about. But Arashi, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty okay, man. If you follow the... No, actually, if you saw my Instagram feed today, some interesting developments to say the least. It's just so random.
There you go. He's
It's a lot
already
of
plugging
weird-
his social media. So go ahead, check him out before we start the video. Description, there's going to be the link to all his socials, Instagram, even his YouTube. He'll start streaming or something later, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, then. I think we'll just get right with the topics, then we can banter a little bit about like YouTube channels and everything in the ending. But guys, not even joking though, we have a lot of crazy, very spicy news, especially for Rashi. Well, we'll start with the basics. We'll start with, again, just a recap of week 4. Just pre-week 4 or post-week 4. This is a recap. First, we're going to start with MPL Indonesia, obviously, because we are from MPL ID. We cast an MPL ID. So we have most information, like most of our data, it's mostly around MPL ID. And I guess we'll start with you, Rashi. What do you think about like the season so far? Like 4 weeks into the season.
I like the development. I like the fact that it's just not the same always. Last season, it's a lot of unexpected turns, but in the end, it's pretty much similar, right? Same teams not making the playoffs, etc., etc. Of course, there's a EVOS history. There's that, unfortunately, right? But this season, I feel like it's just a lot more dynamic, right? The teams that we got that are the people's champions, etc., etc. They're actually making it all the way up, and of course, on top right now, it's still yellow and orange as always. But as we all know, I'm still quite pissed that Onyx is just so damn good. Like, dude, it's just so fucking unfair, man. Can I swear?
Yeah. Go
Are
ahead,
you doing
swear,
that?
man. Now we're
Are you
good.
reducing the swearing?
Hey,
No?
you know, we can
I-
try to reduce swearing, but if you're feeling it, just go for it, man.
I can imagine Gonnie just going, like his smug face, dude. It's pissing me off so much because
Top 10 most punchable faces.
RRQ and Onyx, right, rivals, but we're just not doing that hot right now. Geek Slate making it all the way up there, beating the bigger names. I'm like, yeah, that is exactly what we've been waiting for, right? And I think some people have been calling it like the Slate buff, right, as a joke. Like you add Slate, they just get so
Once-
much better.
Once a geek, always a slate now.
And unfortunately, like the team we've always mentioned as the uncrowned kings, right? Alter Ego doing really, really bad. But they seem to be turning a new leaf on the second half. We saw a similar pattern last season, though. Didn't really end up being too amazing, but of course, it's a different season, a different time. So I have high hopes. And of course, speaking on the standings, right? There's the huge update we just received today from my team. So
Don't worry.
I'm pretty like mind blown, man. Even I didn't see it coming. Just saying.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into that. I think everybody who clicked the video I think they clicked the video because
the
of that
title?
as
You're
well.
clickbaiting it?
Mostly, we're going to be clickbaiting the shit out of that title because it's the big topic, right? But obviously, again, for me, I think I've kind of the same opinion as Arashi, especially for this topic right here. Season 11 has just been phenomenal. I think across all the regions, right? Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines, every single MPL who's gone through 11 seasons, we've seen a lot of formulaic stuff, but I think season 11 really is the start of something new. Maybe not for Indonesia that much in terms of the standings, but in terms of the developing teams. I think Rebellion, Zion, Geek Slate, and Bigetron Alpha, these are the 3 teams that I see with the most potential. Right?
Bigetron's there, huh?
Of course. All right. Well, you know what? Since you went off with RRQ, I'll go with my team. I'll
How about you wear the
speak a
jersey,
bit.
dude?
You forgot to
Dang.
wear the jersey. It's fine. You can wear the jersey right now, Rashi.
You're gonna cut this,
I'm not gonna cut this.
dude. You're gonna see me.
I'm just gonna talk over it, dude. As Arashi puts or gets his RQ jersey on, I'm not even wearing a Bigetron Alpha jersey. I'm wearing a Falcon jersey. They were the team I was supporting in M4 because they were red. Anyways, Bigetron Alpha, I feel like honestly, they have the fundamentals down. I think this team has so much potential. If you take a look at their drafts, I honestly feel like in every single game, almost every single game, except for maybe the Hanabi games, they've always had the better draft. going up against their opponents. And that's why usually when you see the talent prediction, it's mostly with Bigetron Alpha. So yeah, I honestly feel like with the fundamentals that they've developed with Coach Aldo, Coach Pau, and even Ray's Boy at the helms, it feels like those the foundation for this organization is already really good. It just comes down to the players. How are they going to be able to execute it? Because I think in all of the Bigetron Alpha games that they've lost, it has mostly, the losses have been mostly because of the players not executing the game plan properly. But like Rashi mentioned, I honestly feel like Geek Slate is the second best team. RRQ EVOS right now on top of them, but in terms of their performance and in terms of their week 3 to 4 performance, the second, like the 2 last weeks that we saw, I think Geek Slate is definitely up there. Maybe even second place for me, topping over RRQ because they just beat RRQ. And EVOS Legends have just been... they're fallen. But we have some developments on EVOS Legends as well. We have some changes. We'll get to that later, Rashi.
Right.
I want to ask you, before we move on to the next topic, though, I want to ask you about Aurafire, right? Because I think a lot of people have been asking me as well in my comment section about what's happening to Aurafire. 3rd place consistently in 2 seasons back to back, and now they're back to 8th. What do you think? What do you, Arashi, what do you think is the problem with Aurafire right now?
To be fair, we don't have a lot of insight. I mean, I used to have a lot more knowledge on Aura, but I'm not really good at maintaining relationships. Everyone knows that. It's a thing. Well, I really feel like they just lost a bit of their character, right? A bit of what they like to do, essentially. Like I keep talking about the bigger picture during the broadcast, but they just seem to not really know what they want to do in the first place. Okay, Cloudy. Cloudy cameo here. But yeah, usually with Aura, as random as they are, as crazy as they are, you always knew, like, okay, they're doing this. All right, they're doing that, right? Like, there's always a set formula, at least on the basic level before they start adjusting, right? In the beginning of the game. I think it was, for the most part, always mid lane utility, strong side lane. That's always been Aura's signature playstyle. I did mention it reminds me a lot of the 1-3-1 meta that we used to have a long time ago, right? It's called the jungle hyper carry meta as well. Yeah, Aura used to really thrive with that playstyle, and now you just don't really know, right? It's not like I clearly remember we saw that they were drafting like a strong side lane, but then they didn't use it. Sometimes they go for a very roam heavy mid lane, but then they didn't roam, right? So I'm like, what is going on? Why? Like, what's the idea? What's the main plan? The roster change, I think, has potential. I think I mentioned before, I've seen Hai being more of a utility player before as well. And that shows, right, when he plays jungle, when he plays all these tank junglers before, he just seems to have a bit more of a ballsy play style, right? He just is in your face. He likes taking risks, and those tankier heroes allows him to be a bit more risky compared to the squishier, the damage heavy, roles like the mid lane, like the gold lane. So I think it makes sense in a way. And he's always been a very loud guy. Even now, if you take a look at the mic checks on MPL ID, loud guy. He just knows what to do, and he's always vocal about what he's doing, and he can do so while still playing really well. That's a huge plus, right? Some players can't do that. I believe insider info right here, but back then he was the hyper carry player for Aura when he was in the MDL, when I was still a manager / coach, kind of, sort of, long story. And the roamer was a guy. His name was Jezza. Some people might remember him, some people might not. But Jezza was very quiet, so one of the reasons why back then we tried putting him in a more utilitarian, what's the word?
Just utilitarian
role? Whatever, utilitarian role, was because he was so vocal, right? So he can actually lead the team if he makes plays happen. Like, he is a very creative guy, You've seen how he plays, right? He likes doing weird stuff. Back before Irithel was meta, he was one of the guys very vocal about, hey, Irithel has potential, I like this being able to hit while moving around kind of style. We experimented with that as well back then. So I think it's great. I think it makes sense, but the mind behind it, right? You talked about how Bigetron has a great mind behind it. The execution is lacking. I feel like Aura, in a weird way, might be the opposite, right? All their players are shown to have good execution. I mean, Hai, like him or hate him, there were some moments where he made a great engage, a great play, but so often the plays happen and then everyone else is just somewhere else, and you're like, it's there, like, why? What happened here? So I think if they can get more synergy, right? Get a better game plan, a better, bigger picture at the beginning of the game before anything even starts moving around. I think they'll do a lot better because honestly, if you, it's great to be fluid, but if you're too fluid and then you just have no form, right? And that can be an issue in itself.
I think that's a brilliant point that you brought out, right? Aura Fire being a bit too creative, a bit too fluid, that they completely forgot how to become a solid team, right? It's pretty poetic in a way because the creativity kind of made them a solid team back in season 8, 9, and 10. So I really hope Aura Fire gets to that point once again where they can be a solid team, they can be a contender for the title again, especially considering that Van, with his promotion into the MPL, I really thought he brought a whole lot of stability to the team, right? But as we all know, in MPL, once you get some good games in, everybody looks at you, everybody reads you, and at this point, it does feel like Van has completely been read out. He only plays the utility junglers. When you ban out the Fredrin, the Martis, the Kai away from him, he struggles and the entire team struggles. It basically becomes Aura Fire in the start of the season again, right? The Aura Fire that really just doesn't know what to pick because of the very shallow hero pools that it seems like they have. Obviously, as pro players, they have a lot of hero pools, but the ones that they can play comfortably on stage, that's the question. That's the big question for these pro players to adapt. Exactly, high level. I think we can honestly move on to another team that I really want to talk about, right? For Geek Slate, EVOS Legends, RRQ, I think, especially for just the top four, I think we've already heard a lot of crazy good things. We've already heard a lot of the issues as well from I know a lot of the players and even a lot of just interviews in general. So I really just want to stick to Aura Fire, Alter Ego, and Rebellion Zion because I honestly feel like for Rebellion Zion, we'll start with Rebellion before we move on to Alter Ego because I think Rebellion Zion has a lot of potential. I really think this team can can tap into the potential that they've never been able to tap into before, right? Especially this season. It feels like they have a proper lineup to do that. Last season, they were good. Fearless, unfortunately, with all the controversy, but still, with Dyron and Fearless, it really felt like it was a solid team that was capped, unfortunately, because of their playstyle. Their one-dimensional playstyle. Dyron only played Benedetta, and Paquito only played these damage-dealing playmakers, heavy carry heroes. When he goes for the Esmeralda, when he goes for the Uranus, it feels like he's just not in his comfort zone, right? So now with Cars, I would say he's more of a complete XP laner. Interestingly enough, which is pretty interesting because he was recruited as a gold laner at first, but because maybe Highs has the same amount of potential that he does, it's a bit of a waste if they if they make them compete for the gold lane title. So Cars moved to the XP, Highs sway low though. I think those are the three members I really want to highlight for Rebellion Zion, man. I think Cars, sway low, and Highs, they really got to develop these players. These three players are the future of Rebellion Zion because they already have a very good foundation with Ouija Narco and Walrus in that duo jungle roam combo.
Yeah, Ouija in particular, right? We talked about how flexible, how much more flexible he was compared to the other roamers. Because we're seeing, except for a few exceptions, everyone has their strong suits, but Ouija just seems to have a lot more adaptability, which is dangerous, right? Especially in the hands of Coach Chico. The drafts have been so good, man, honestly. It's unexpected because he was always methodical. Like, we know the guy, right? We talked to him quite a bit, and we know that there's a underlying plan, an underlying strategy every time he goes for certain picks. I think it's great. But in this season in particular, he's able to compete even against the more well-known teams, and the roster being relatively new is also able to actually execute the game plan, right? Match up to the other teams. So I really think that, especially in the beginning with Highs just having an insane performance on the Harith, right? That's still something that really stands out. Like you mentioned, I think it's their time, but unfortunately, everyone else is also like stepping up at the same time, so this makes it very difficult. We were talking about this at the end of last week, right? Like, dang, everyone is just so close, right? 5-4, 5-4, 4-5, 4-5. You know, one single win or loss can just like switch everything over. So I think it makes it's unfortunate because they have to work extra hard, right? Because maybe back then when things are a bit more generic, then they know what to expect. They know how to, improve and try and take advantage of the other team's weaknesses. But now that everyone is also having fewer weak points, and a lot more adaptability. They're showing a lot more different looks, early game, late game, high mechanics, more strategic approaches. It just makes them have to do double the effort because now they also have to match up to how a lot the teams were last season, but also evolve from there on, right? And they're doing it so far, to be fair, right? Alter Ego and or Fires just statistically have not been able to have the same kind of success. But like you mentioned, the newer members are just so unexpected. We were talking the first match. I recall distinctly. We were like, "Wow, with the new players, this is gonna be so difficult," and they just smashed it. So like, okay, cool. They can just keep building on it, and if they keep the same kind of strategy and just improve on the foundations, right? Ironically enough, similar to Aura, I think they can do a lot better because we do hear a bit of a secret, right? But we do hear that some of these players being newer, being in an unfamiliar situation, they do struggle with a bit of the pressure, a bit of how to deal with it, how to get used to it, how to adapt during the game when the pressure is on them as well. So I think they're on the right track. Just need to sharpen up, and it comes with time. And good progress takes time.
Yeah, agreed. You gotta really trust the process, especially for a newer team like Rebellion Zion. The fact that they made it to the playoffs first compared to Geek Slate. Geek Fam has been in the franchise league. Now Geek Slate has been in franchise league from season 4 all the way to season 10, right? And Rebellion Zion has just they joined in season 8, so season 8, 9, and 10. In their third season, they were able to make it to the playoffs. Meanwhile, Geek Slate have yet to make it to the playoffs, but I think right now it's looking real good for Geek Slate to be able to finally make the playoff spot. Heck, they might even secure upper brackets in their first ever playoff run, which is an interesting development as well that we'll definitely talk a little bit about in another episode of SarCAST. But now, last but definitely not least, I really do want to touch on Alter Ego because I saved this for last because I do feel like out of the bottom 3 teams, this team is the most interesting, right? Such a horrible first 2 weeks for Alter Ego, which is strange. As an Alter Ego fan, as an MPL ID fan, as an MLBB fan, you would always expect Alter Ego to be a top 4 team, at least, right? Everybody understands, knows that Alter Ego, even if they lose game number 1, match number 1, they're always going to be able to find some form of comeback. But this season, first 2 weeks, oh my god, it was horrible. I even went on to say that I just saw no potential from this team. I did say it, however, with the roster, with the Rizal roster, not with the Nino roster, right? Unfortunately, I've said this as well back in the day, but I feel like Rizal is just not MPL ready yet. He's really good in team fights, but his laning phase, I don't think it's MPL level just yet. I feel like he falls behind so much in the laning phase, but now with Nino finally coming back into the fray, his laning is spectacular. I think that's one of the things that sets Nino apart from all the other gold laners, or sets him up there with the top gold laners, Skylar, Brand, CW, right? Even Chidera. Every gold laner is so good here. Even Kabuki, 8th place, still amazing statistics. But I think Alter Ego have really found their jam right now, because now I don't know what's the cause actually. Like I've really been thinking about it. I've been thinking about why, how did Alter Ego suddenly perform? And all I could think of is basically Nino, because other than Nino, maybe the drafts. The drafts have gone significantly better. Now, I don't know exactly what has happened, right? Because I've heard rumors that maybe week 1 and week 2, it was actually the players drafting for themselves. And then week 3, Nefari was like, yo, all right, you tried, now it's my turn. Or it could be the opposite.
Really?
Maybe it's Nefari with week 1 and 2. And then the players are like, you know what, coach, we got this, right? Let's, add some of our input too, not just you. I don't know which one is true. Obviously, it's all just rumors, but it does feel like they have found more stability in the drafts. Maybe it's just because they've learned from their losses too, right? Maybe it's still the same system that they use in week 1, everyone giving each other input and the head coach Nefari making the right decisions. But in the draft, they've consistently been able to secure these really good picks for their winning condition, for their winning side. Nino getting a winning side, or Pai. It's always around that, and obviously all around the center as well. Securing Udo's pick in the first phase because he has pretty shallow hero pool. But yeah, it feels like Alter Ego have found that stability, and with a 2-0 win against EVOS and a 2-1 win against RRQ, they're looking to come back. They're looking to maybe even become a contender this season, which is unexpected after the first 2 weeks.
I think if you want to see this disconnect between the coach and the players, it's a rumor still. But considering the statement they have when they finally won, right? Nafari out. Where's the hate?
Where's
Where's
the
the
hate?
hate? The players kind of defended their coach right there. So I feel like there's a bit more unity there, right? Just looking from an outside perspective. And I think Nino is definitely a big factor. There's no denying the impact gold inners have. You just mentioned it, right? All the gold inners are solid because that's what you need, right? If your gold inner isn't solid right now in season 11, it's a tough run, man. It's just so difficult. At the very least, they have to be like somewhat decent. So Nino coming in, of course, it's a huge impact. He's a dominant laner. He was the rookie monster, and now he is a full-fledged, serious player. And I mean, personality-wise, he seems to be the same guy. Every time you see him, he's like, "Oh, hi, hello." The
He's so
classic,
cheerful.
Indonesian. Cheerful and also still like very
Humble, polite.
humble and shy, kind of.
Yeah.
Unless it's on the mic check, then it's a different person. We all know that. But I think it's them working around Udil, right? Udil usually we stuck to a few playstyles, but yesterday they brought out more unique picks per se, right? They're just bringing out a different pick, so you don't know if they were hiding it all the while. But having Udil being able to play more heroes is definitely a big issue here. A big fix almost for the team, because it's no secret if you look at the drafts from a lot of teams going up against Alter Ego, the far side is always there. The Julian gets respected as well. It's always in the win conditions as well, right? Respect Udil's prio pick. So that's number one. Then putting Nino in the roster, and with the marksman's being able to solo carry. I mean, Mirko and I, if you look at our match histories, it's no secret we are abusing that Melissa pick. I usually play mid lane only. Mirko knows this, right?
It's so good, right?
The last win streak I've been on, like a 14-game win streak, it's all Melissa, man. Like there's like 3 mage games, or there are Fredrin games there as well. But for the most part, it's all Melissa, and it's just so strong. And it's not about just being strong; it's the impact you can have, right? Other heroes are strong as well, but you don't have the same kind of team fight impact that Melissa has. It's just massive in the lane as well. It's strong. It's a lane bully. So much potential in the gold lane. And with that, there's also you talk about draft. I think in particular, it's also the fact that they are playing around what works instead of going for what they want, right? Because Alter Ego has always been an aggressive, engaged team, right? Leo Murphy at the helm. We always talked about when Leo Murphy isn't there, we keep talking about, oh, Leo Murphy is not here, it's so lackluster. But we saw that once they're like, okay, you know what? Rossi just ain't doing Leo Murphy stuff, he's doing other stuff that's good. So when they bring out the Digi, when they bring out the Estes, it's just a whole different look. And that in combination with Nino, I think it's what's so devastating, right? If you just put Nino in and you put Rossi on engaged heroes, I believe we saw a bit of that when they were experimenting. If you put Rossi on the utility, but then you have Ryzel, right? Maybe he's a bit too behind in the laning phase, etc., etc. But this combination of Nino being solid and Rossi supporting him, the savage happened for a reason, man. Right at that final moment, it was Rossi and Nino making the play in tandem. So I think they just really found what works, and instead of just getting stuck on what Alter Ego should be, they're not looking at, okay, what is Alter Ego now, and how can we maximize it? And it's great. I think it really shows that there's not a single right way to play the game. Of course, the meta is there, but given the right execution in the right hands, you don't always have to have these really aggressive teamfight compositions. You can play a bit more for late game, a bit more defensive and reactive. And of course, it's a bit of a surprise right now, and teams can adjust to it. But I think that idea that we're no longer the same Alter Ego, and it's okay, I think that's great. Because even in the final drafts, Udil isn't exactly as impactful. Because usually we saw that when Udil does well, the team does well, right? When Udil snowballs, the team snowballs, especially on a hero that roams and bursts as hard as the Farsa. But now you can see that, screw it. If Udil is getting ganked, getting pressured, it's fine. Nino can carry, if Nino isn't doing well, they have Serpai who can still pull out some really, really solid performances. So now is just so much more multidimensional because they're no longer stuck in a single playstyle, not forcing themselves or the drafts to actually cater to the playstyle we know and love. And I think it's fine, you know. I feel like maybe some friends would be like, "What is this new boring safe alter ego?" But I feel like if you're a true fan, you can be happy for development, for progress, right? If you watch a movie and the main character is the same guy until the end, it gets a bit stale, you know? You want a bit of development, a bit of a training arc, you know? I feel like we can expect a lot of potential. And I do hope that they do improve from now and, like, you know, just prove everyone wrong because Uncrowned Kings, you know? A lot of expectations behind this nickname.
Yeah, it's just the adjustments, I believe, right? The adjustments they made were just the proper ones. It was micro adjustments, just small little changes to the picks, just like you said, playing with their strengths. With Rossi, not a proactive roamer. He's a very reactive roamer. So given the picks like the Estes, the Diggy, he performs. He carries his team on it, and he literally becomes one of the winning conditions for the team as well. Then you also brought up the point that, you know, this is a new alter ego. They also... kind of changed their playstyle, right? Not as aggressive as before.
They're also not relying as much on Sunny Boy, right? Because we also saw that one of their win conditions in the last season is Sunny Boy farming. It's always Sunny Boy farming and Sunny Boy carrying. Now they're like, fine, you can't get on the assassins, it's fine. If he is in, because we keep talking about assassins, and I keep mentioning assassins have potential, but in the right conditions. It's very situational. You have to pick the right time to pick it. And now it's Sunny Boy being able to actually play the utility junglers. Of course, he does well with the utility junglers with damage, like the Fredrin, but we've seen that he can play with the Akai as well, you know? He can just be a bit more flexible with it. So I feel like, again, being more flexible and having Sunny Boy fill in multiple, being able to actually play two different kind of play styles also lends its hand to how flexible they can be, because somehow, if Rossi can engage, maybe Sunny Boy with the jungler killer instinct can be the one identifying these opportunities and going in aggressively as opposed to Rossi, and it works, you know?
And we saw that curveball against RRQ as well, right? I mean, Boy was using the assassins a whole lot, and then RRQ just completely left out the Fredrin, thinking, hey, alter ego is not going to pick it. They're definitely not going to play a utility on Selly. And then he picks it up, carries the game, even beats Albert in the 1v1 retry battle the whole game, right? So in game one, when Albert was so impressive on that retribution, it looked like he just was beating Boy consistently. Boy did the same thing in game two. So it just, you know, puts up the question that, again, you know, it's sometimes not the player, it's just the hero. Fredrin is a very impressive jungler. So yeah, alter ego. This is interesting though. This is a point that we will bring up later on. But with the difference in coaching staff, it's no longer Cassius, it's no longer Nasi Uduk, it's a different style of alter ego, right? Nasi Uduk, very aggressive coach. Cassius as well. So with Nafari, maybe we'll see a bit more of a passive alter ego that so far has been working. But I think that's it so far for MPL Indonesia. We're going to stop our, you know, discussion for MPL ID right there. Obviously for Onyx, still number one. I don't think we got to talk. I don't even think we need to mention. It's literally just the perfect MPL ID team. They're the perfect Indonesian team right now. It's
first team like picks, right?
Yeah, I would say by the end of the season they might have 5, right? If all their members continue to perform the way that they have been performing right now, I don't even doubt it, right? 9-0, the drafts have been solid with Yeb and Achil. Adi now, as an RRQ fan, is probably pretty upsetting that, you know, Achil is doing so well in RRQ. It just went down.
I never hated on him, so, yeah, but, you know, it is what it is, right?
It hurts. It hurts. Still, it kind of hurts, though, as an RRQ fan, right? Achil leaving, and technically, your rival right now, the Royal Derby, is up there, 9-0, while you're kind of struggling in second place. And again, 2nd to 6th or 2nd to 7th even. I think this is the closest MPL right now for 2nd and 7th, right? First place, we don't even need to talk about first place. No. But 2nd and 7th, it's one match and it can change the entire thing. Alter Ego with just one match win, they can be 5th. Bigetron, Rebellion, one match loss, they're down to the red zone, right? So there's a lot of things that could happen here. But we're going to be moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next topic, which is MPL Philippines. Now, Arashi, I'm not too sure if you actually follow MPL PH because we already have a packed schedule in MPL ID, but MPL PH has been insane. I think if we're talking about the most competitive region, it has to still be, or even the best region when it comes to MLBB, the best MLBB played, I think right now is a fact that it's the Philippines, but mainly it's not just MPLPH as a whole, in my opinion. MPLPH as a whole is very, very competitive, but I think the top four is where I really enjoy. You know, are the matches that I really look into. The top four, it's crazy. 4 international champions in the top 4. We got a world champion, 2 world champions, 3 world champions, and a C champ, right? RSG. And
Yeah.
Echo, we expected, or everybody expected, after their crazy first 2 weeks that they would just dominate the entire league. Nope, they lost to RSG. Not even close. 2-0. They got smashed by RSG. Brand, the team they beat, they're number 1 right now. So there's been a lot of changes since the first week and the second week. And right now, the top 4 looking unpredictable. Bottom 4, though, however, I do feel like they are a bit more predictable. It's just Omega that have really stepped up with Kelra. I think for Omega, it's kind of similar to Alter Ego and Nino, I would say. It's like Kelra starting to pop off again, and Nino starting to pop off again for Alter Ego. But Kelra is showing that he's still one of the best, if not the best, gold laners. Even with a pretty lackluster performance from a lot of his teammates, he's still been able to constantly carry the game, carry them to a win. But the top 4, it's so cool. Every single time these teams match up against each other, I'm just so hyped. I want to see it play. Unfortunately, we can't see the matches there sometimes. But Arashi, I want to just ask you this, right? I'll answer this too, but who do you think is going to be representing Philippines for MSC? The 2 people, the 2 teams. Just it's a fun prediction.
You said it yourself. I haven't been having the time in his schedule to actually like follow it closely, unfortunately, right? I really do. But sometimes, especially after a day of casting, you want to follow like, oh, what happened in PH, and it's just like, I don't really have it in me to watch yet another match. You know, it's a bit much. I mean, you're still young. You know, it's a well-known fact that Mirko has that young age buff. I no longer have that liberty, so I feel like the most memorable performance for me still has to be Echo, of course, because I was still following with M4. But from that, I really have no idea, dude, because I think that's also great. It's no secret, right? Anyone who still thinks that Indo is objectively the best right now is, I don't know, questionable, right? PH is just so much more tactical, calculated, and I feel like at the end of the day, execution matters, but it has to start from the tactics and strategy first at all the time. So I think they are the most solid region. So I think I would just vote for Echo being in there. But aside from that, I really have no clue, dude. And I think it's great. Yeah, but unfortunately, I can't weigh in on it.
Choose one. Just randomize. Just go for a pick. Who are you rooting for? There you go. Echo, you think they're good. Who are you rooting for?
Rooting for? This is tough, right? Because I picked the wrong one. Like the other teams were like, "What the fuck, bro? Like, what's wrong with
Arashi? What the fuck?" No. They're probably gonna be like, they're gonna laugh at it. It's fine. Go ahead. Choose make a pick.
Ooh, maybe RSG. Cause I think RSG left a huge impression on me during MPLI, I believe. Of course, a lot of this happens. I'm pretty hazy. I got the old man memory, so I don't remember in detail, but I believe that they have quite the interesting play style. It's a bit, I don't know, it's reckless, but it works sort of. So considering that they are also, I believe, the one that hasn't had the international title yet.
They have a MSC, but not world title. Yeah,
not world title. I guess I'll root for them because I feel like all this time, if they actually won something, I wouldn't be too surprised. Put it that way. So I think I'll give my vote for the underdog. We all love an underdog story, right? You gotta sharing is caring, man. You can't just take all the world titles. So let's have an even, like one for everyone.
Wow, there you go. Well, Echo RSG for your MSC representatives. For me though, I'll make my prediction too. I think honestly, for me, I think I have a more. Ooh, I don't know though. Wait, I gotta think about it, right? Will the M World curse strike?
Yeah, that's the big
because
question.
Echo is really good. Echo is really good. Don't get me wrong. I personally, if you're asking me right now who I'm rooting for, it'll probably be like Echo, right? I love the players on the team, especially Sanford. He's a cool dude, a very cool dude. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know with the RSG loss. It really depends on how they take that loss, right? If they take that loss in the proper way, they utilize it to, work on the big L's or the big mistakes, the big holes in their team. They work on it, they cover up those holes, and they become an even better team, which I think is what's going to play out in the end. They're obviously going to be, again, contenders to make it to MSC, but we have seen Echo like this in the past. I think it was season 9. Season 10. No, season 9, yeah. Season 10 is when they went to M4. Season 9, they were really good up until one point, and then they dropped, right? So I'm kind of feeling that right now. Also because of the M-World curse. I want to see new teams. I think if we want to see new teams representing a region for every single like international tournament, the best bet we've got is PH, because PH have been consistently like giving us different teams every single like every single tournament except for Omega. I think Omega has been the most consistent when it comes to like participating in the international tournaments. M2 it was Omega and Bren. Then MSC was it was Execration, but then they acquired Execration's team. Anyways, Omega has made it a lot, but I'd say Bren and RSG just to make it interesting, right? Echo definitely still favorites, but I want to see a new team. I want to see 2 new teams representing the PH in the international scene. Technically, they're not really new teams because Bren and RSG have been in the international tournaments, but I don't want to see the same teams back to back, right? It was Echo Blacklist, maybe now it's Bren and RSG again, then maybe later M4, M5, maybe it's Omega Onic, right? I don't know, maybe, or maybe Omega NXPE.
Crazy.
Yeah, but Brenner are really good. There's a reason that they are representing Philippines, not just, well, maybe for MSC, but also for SEA Games. They've qualified and they beat Echo. They beat Echo for that slot to represent Philippines. Coach Ducky and Coach Vren. Vren was Bigetron's coach last season. He's now in Bren, and I think Bren have been really solid. I think they have one of the best junglers in. You know what? I'll say if Carl TZ keeps on performing and if he keeps on developing, I'd say they have the new Carl TZ in their hands. Carl TZ is amazing, phenomenal. I think Prodigy. He's gonna. Oh, this guy has a lot of potential, and I really hope he taps into that because I want to see Bren come back. It's been a long time since I saw Bren lift a trophy, right? In the MLBB division. So that'll be pretty interesting. That's my pick. I don't know if what you guys, you guys tell me in the comment section, tell me and Arashi in the comment section who you guys choose to represent Indo, Philippines, and Malaysia. Because Malaysia, even though it's still in week 1, everything can change. But I do want to, talk a little bit about this, throw some shade at my boys, Gideon Q and LaFell. Homeboys, man, 2 Indonesian players, number 1 in the standings, man. And they have a Filipino coach.
Here,
right? I don't know, man. Like, they got a Bigetron beta, an MDL roamer. And he's popping off in Malaysia. They got an MDL mid laner, which is from RRQ Senna, Arashi's favorite team. And he's popping off in MPL Malaysia. These Indonesian prodigies, they had potential all the way from the start. And honestly, the team saw it, but they just didn't utilize it. Barbosa was playing in the MPL. Unfortunately, I think because of the stage and because of his experience, he wasn't really able to perform on that level. But it's fine. It's great to see them finally, get some recognition as players. They really deserve it. And Repo's been making MPL MY so entertaining. I'm not even joking, guys. I usually never tune into MPL Malaysia, but Repo and the 2 Indonesian imports made me tune in. He's so fun. When he beat Team Hawk, he went on stage and he yelled "Ibombe, Wakanda forever," and he just taunted the shit out of Team Hawk.
Really?
Yeah. It's amazing. Dude. It's amazing. I love Repo. He's also an ex-BTR fan. So if you were a Red before, I'll always be supporting Bigetron members wherever they go, even if they leave Bigetron. And to some extent, I'm rooting for RSG now.
Man, I wish Indonesia had a bit more spice to it, because now it's still Udil, right? It's still spicy Udil for so long. When are we gonna get like a new guy?
We had Repo for like season 7 to 10. We did.
Yeah, Taunt King was great. I mean, we need more of that, more personality, because these players, dude, backstage, You have no idea. On stage, you're like, oh yeah, the coach did everything. We followed the game plan. Like, backstage, you're like, what? Who the hell are you? You know,
They
like,
have personality. They just don't want to show it. Yeah.
we have a lot of discussions about this because it's partially because MPL ID is just so the fan base is so passionate. Sometimes you talk too much trash, it could really backfire on you, and some people aren't ready for that. It's also the fact that sometimes the fans just can't take it. You know, they can't handle a bit of banter. They just take it way too personal, and then it just loses the fun. So I feel like, come on, man. If you want to see stuff like this, the fan base also needs to be more open to stuff like this, dude. If there's some banter, laugh about it. Let's have fun with it. And I think that's gonna be good for everyone involved. That's how you get the crazy moments, like from Repo, and there could be a lot of montages online about just like stage banter. Because even on the mic checks, you see a lot of very interesting moments, and you're like, wow, if that's a video, I would definitely enjoy seeing a compilation of the kinds of words exchanged. Of course, to a degree, there needs to be some filter involved there, but on a principle basis, I feel like they can really go to town with that.
And I think Malaysia found that kind of like special spot where they can really compete against MPL PH and MPL ID, right? The entertainment value is so good with a lot of these personalities, like Repo. I love Repo, and I hope Barbosa follows in his footsteps because he was kind of doing his thing in MDL. He was taunting a whole lot in MDL, Bigetron Beta. He yells a lot. I remember I was casting MDL last season. He was still in Bigetron Beta, and man, there was no crowd. It was an offline stage, no crowd, but Barbosa, he was just yelling. He was yelling, screaming at his opponents, even standing up while playing, sometimes looking at his opponents on the left. He was like, what you doing, man? What's he doing? It just taunted. It's so fun. I hope Barbosa, captures a little bit of that and brings it to Malaysia because, yeah, I don't know. Maybe call me biased, but we got Repo, a former Bigetron member, and we got two Indonesians on Homeboys. So I'm rooting for RSG and Homeboys. I think this is a very competitive league, though. Honestly, right? Like Todak, you definitely didn't. I don't think you would have expected Todak or Team Hawk to go 0-2 or 0-1 in the first week, right? Like these are the teams to be looking at. And Team Secret, they finally joined MPL. They finally, got into the MLBB scene. Unfortunately, though, 10th place right now, 0-2, 0-4 game rate. Now, it's a bit unfortunate because from the rumors that not the rumors, literally from the matches I've seen, Amox's transitioned to a player role as a roamer. Not too sure. I don't think that's intentional. But yeah, I don't think that's what is supposed to be going on. I really hope Team Secret gets some solid ground to stand on, especially for the next few weeks, because it'll be pretty sad for Team Secret's first season to not make it to the playoffs. This is also one of the only MPLs with 10 teams, so. It's very interesting. I saw the format video too. I love MPL Malaysia because of it, and I can't wait to see the development of these teams, especially RG Slate and Homeboys. Big fan.
Yeah, a quick shout out as well, because like Barbosa and
Warlord
and Warlord, yeah, they going to a different country to play, right? I feel like it's a tough challenge for sure. So I mean, best of luck, from a fellow Indonesian. Because living abroad is tough, man. I mean, I've studied overseas before. I was in the US for quite a bit, so people even say like, oh yeah, the US is more convenient, but being away from home is a whole different challenge, man. Some people can deal with it, like I didn't have too many issues, but I saw a lot of people like really take it hard, being on a different culture, not really feeling like you can relate to the people around you, different cuisine to a degree. Of course, Indonesia, Malaysia, strumpun as always.
Strumpun.
It's gonna be difficult, so I wish them the best. If they're having a good time, good for you. If you're not, go at it, man. Keep at it. You have our support here as a fellow Indonesians. Wish you the best of luck, man. If you are watching this.
That's why I think we give so much props to all the imports from Philippines when it first started. The whole Filipino import thing back in season 10. Kyrie, Delar, the whole OUTT PH, Marky, Yeb, everyone was being imported all across the place. And especially for Yeb, I would say Yeb is a standout of all the imports because he's learned the language super quick. He's caught on. He's been listening to Indonesian songs. He's been streaming in full Indonesian now. So yeah, again, big shout out to Yeb. Cool dude. It feels like he is Indonesian now. It's strange.
Learning a language so late in his life, because he is not a young man by all means, right?
He's not too old too, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but learning languages like usually past let's say 20 years old gets very difficult, and the man just goes at it so easily. I really think that if any of you are trying to learn a language, the way Coach Jeb does it is actually the same way I learned Japanese. If you learn songs, right? Something about having like melody or something else associated with the words you're learning makes it stick in there so much easier. And Coach Jeb, when we first met him, he was like, "Oh yeah, I love Indonesian music. I've been listening to a lot of Indonesian songs," and he just picks up so quick. I did the same thing for Japanese, being a weeb myself, and I think it works, man. So if you are trying to learn a language, good luck to you and try that out, dude. It's really good.
There you go. Big
Weird
tip.
segue, but
Weird segue, but hey, Arashi can speak a lot of the languages. He's like multilingual. So yeah, go and like if you want to ask, if you want to get some advice as to how you learn new languages, Arashi's the way to go. But Arashi, it's time to touch on the big topic, the big boy topic. It is the biggest of them all. Week 4 MPL, Arcadia and Fiel out. What is going on? We're taking a break, it says on the RRQ post, but it gets even deeper here, Arashi, and all of you viewers. It gets much deeper because here it says we're taking a break. Fiel as the MLBB coach, Arcadia as the MLBB analyst. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's a bit different when MPL posted about it, because if you can see here, this is the official MPL announcement for the transfers. You can see down below there, right next to Arashi, it's RRQ to free agent. So free agent usually means fired. You're no longer a part of RRQ. And it's the same for Coach Fiel, which is, again, quite bizarre for me. I've known Fiel for so long, even when his name was Petra back in the day. And he's been a part of the org for so long. It would be really strange if he was actually, out of the organization here. For both ARC and Fiel, especially ARC as well here, ARC and Fiel. ARC is the PH import, right? One of the coaches that came over with Yeb to Indonesia. What does this mean? Also, fun fact, RRQ have also been recruiting for an MDL PH slot. I believe they've been trying to recruit PH players for MDL PH slot. So a lot of rumors, a lot of people have been saying that maybe he's going to go back to PH and coach for the RRQ MDL. But I think that starts all the way in next season, because the MDL PH season is already going on right now, right? So,
yeah,
Arashi not looking too good here. I mean, both your coaches out of RRQ. What would you think is the reason?
Dude, first of all, it's just so sudden, right?
It is.
If it happens, you can understand. You can theorize, okay, maybe there are reasons, maybe there's what, but it happened so sudden, man. There was no notice at all. I was out doing other things today, and I looked at the announcement like, wow, taking a break? What's up? Damn, I wish they're doing okay. Maybe it's a family issue,
That's what they
said. And then I saw the announcement. It's like, huh? Really? Because we've heard a lot of things from Coach Fiel, and people were saying back then, like, oh, Coach Achille, right, isn't doing so good. Fiel needs to be in charge. This is something we've heard from a lot of fans. And Coach Arcadia, when he came in, it was such a big news. Everyone was saying that he is, we were theorizing he could be the missing piece right here, right? Everyone being so signature in their own roles, they need something to unite them, something to make them a bit more dynamic, and maybe a touch of PH was going to do that, was what we thought. But I don't know, man. Looking at how the performance is going, you gotta wonder if that is one of the reasons, right? Or if maybe something is going on behind the scenes that's causing both the performance drop and the switch. That is scary as an RRQ fan, because looking at their performance, it's just different, man. We keep saying this again and again. It's not as solid, and it's just very temperamental, let's put it that way, right? When they're doing good, they're doing good. When they're down, they're really down. So it's not the solid RRQ that we expect, we always rely on to deliver. So it's very worrying. But at the same time, right, honestly speaking, if there is an issue, right, whatever it is, that is caused by, I don't know, maybe a difference in opinion or a conflict between the players and the team, at the end of the day, a team is a team. It's not only about the 5 members, it's the coach and the analyst as well. If there's a disagreement there, not gonna point fingers, but I've seen what it can do to a team, right? I've seen, not naming names, but I've seen a team that literally just has no wins off the back of, behind closed doors. They'll just go straight up and tell you, like, you know what, fuck this coach. I legit want this coach to get fired, so I'm not going to win anything when he's involved. People can do that, and honestly, in a team setting, if you're a coach, you can do nothing. There's nothing you can do if your player says that. Of course, you can say, okay, well, I'll bench you, I'll kick you. Yeah, you can do that to a point, but even before that, then you have to start, I don't know, proving that the player's doing this intentionally, and that's just a whole bag of worms that is just so difficult to deal with, right? It's a lengthy process to reconcile or even isolate the exact issue. So I feel like if they've actually, RQ is a team with a lot of experience, with a lot of changes. They've been through a lot, right? It's a reputable, long organization with a lot of history. So I feel like if they do go for such a drastic measure as changing both the coach and the analyst on such short notice, I feel like they've, weighed out the risks.
Yeah.
So with with the best assumptions in mind, I really hope that, the best for Coach Fiel and Coach Arcadia, and I do hope, obviously, as an RQ fan, that the change would be beneficial for RRQ, right? Because, as always, the team has so much potential. We can't deny that, right? Anyone who says that RRQ is a team full of five noobs, gotta be blind. That's gonna be dumb. They are all great players, and I feel like it's about finding the right balance, the right strategy, maybe something like what Alter Ego is doing. So, on that note, Mirko, are we gonna transition to the next announcement?
It's good. It's good that you mentioned Alter Ego because I really liked Arc. Let's stay on this topic for a bit longer because I really liked Arc. I really liked the stability he brought to the team, especially during the mid to late game fights. But I do feel like RRQ have kind of lost a little bit of that early game pressure that they had back in season 8 and 9. Remember that RRQ? The very aggressive early to mid game RRQ. And I think with that, they need an experienced coach to take the helms, but they also need a very aggressive coach. Maybe a coach that's not afraid of going 10-0 sometimes in MPL, which he has done before. Welcome BANGDUK. He's changed his name. It's not Nasi Uduk. Now it's BANGDUK. But Nasi Uduk, if you guys don't know, is going to be the new coach from free agent all the way to RRQ. Now, for Arashi, this is a match made in heaven. He has been a big fan of both Nasi Uduk and RRQ for such a long time. And if you guys do not know, or if you guys forgot who this man is, this is the man who brought Season 7 Alter Ego and Season 8 Alter Ego all the way to the 9-0 and 10-0 win streak. All right? And that Alter Ego, that version, the win streak version, is possibly the scariest version of Alter Ego we've ever seen. And what I remember when you mentioned Season 7 and 8 Alter Ego, and even 9 Alter Ego, when you mentioned that team, I think of aggression. And I think that's what RQ needs right now. They have a lot of aggressive players. Lemon, R7, maybe a little bit more stable, a little bit more consistent. But when you have someone like Lemon, you want to go in. And I think this might just be the right move. Again, RRQ, it's easy to hate on them. It's for not having an international title. It's easy to hate on them with their performances in the M World Series, not winning. But you gotta give props, you gotta give credit when credit is due. RRQ, it's a fact that they are the most consistent team in the world, right? You can say maybe in their prime, they're never as good as an Echo, a Blacklist, an EVOS, a Bren, but they are the most consistent. They have consistently been top 2 for so long, all the way from M1 to M4. They made it to all M World Championships. They've only missed a few MSCs, and they've always had solid performances. So, the team understands the risk. Like Arashi mentioned, they've definitely weighed the risks out before making this crazy move, because again, this is one of the craziest moves to do mid-season. Changing your coach in preseason sometimes is a bit crazy. We saw when Arcadia stepped in, there was an adjusting period. RQ wasn't as strong in the first half of the season, remember? Then they became strong after they adjusted. So making it a change, not even at the half-week point. It would be a half-week point if we were in season 10. Now, there's only 6 weeks, so they're making a very late change that can change everything. This could perhaps end up with RQ not making it to the playoffs, looking at how close the standings are. But again, RQ, I think they know what they're doing.
I feel like Coach BANGDUK.
BANGDUK, bro.
It's such a meme
love
name.
his
If
name.
you guys don't know, if you guys are not Indonesian, Bang is like, it's like, what do you call it? Like,
Bro,
sir?
bro.
Like
I would say it's like more
or-
like
or
bro.
sir?
Bang. Abang, right?
Abang is usually for older, right? Abang is
Yeah,
like
abang is like
older.
big bro, big bro. It's like kuya, kuya. If the for the Filipinos,
Right. So and then Duk was for nasi uduk, which is coconut rice.
Indonesian food.
Yeah. Well, name is meme, but yeah, as Mirko mentioned right here, fun fact: when I was first going in, it's no secret I was relatively new to the scene, right? And I didn't really have a particular team that I really wanted to root for, right? The final two I narrowed it down to was Altrigo and RRQ. Mirko can back me up on this. And I was thinking at the end, like, the both are great, but I prefer the more dynamic, the more unpredictable RRQ more in the end of the day. That was back then, but now it, of course, Nasi Uduk, man. I mean, when I was first in season 7 and then in season 8, I saw their performances. I've always mentioned that Coach Nasi Uduk is just a very intelligent and a very problem-solving kind of coach. Because every time I see, I always like as an analyst, right? I always try and spot out, okay, what is the main issue? Because there are always a lot of issues that spread out. But what is the main issue? What was the main source of issue? And once I find it, if I figure, okay, it might be from, for example, okay, the lack of catch in the next match or the next game. Altrigo will adapt and have that. So I'm like, wow, this coach really knows how to identify problems, and I think it's really, really good. So now having him in RRQ, I feel like that's great because RRQ, given the right direction, if you give an assignment, right? Hey, yo, you need to be doing this. They know how to execute, right? If there's one thing RRQ knows how to do, it's execute. Every single time, the reason why they were called the Comeback Kings was even in the worst situations, the execution somehow can pull through, even through the worst of goal deficiencies. So I think it's a really good match between Coach Nasi. Well, we call it just BANGDUK now.
BANGDUK.
Between BANGDUK and RRQ, I think it's a great match. For the longest time, when it was announced that BANGDUK was not going to be an alter ego, I was wondering, like, where's this guy going to be? And on a side note, it's a funny guy as well, right? He has a meme where every week he just comes in and brings a different book to the stage.
That's how to refresh people's memories. Yep.
You gotta appreciate the I don't know what to call it, the content.
His personality. He's fun. He's a charismatic dude. He's a funny dude, and on top of that, he's a great coach, right? An aggressive one too. And I think that's exactly what RQ kind of needs right now. It feels like, especially in the early game, they're getting a bit too passive, where they don't even go for these fights anymore. So again, I do feel like with this, we'll see a better RRQ. Now, is it too late into the season to make this change? We will have to see. Honestly, that's all I have to say, right? We will have to see if it's a bit too late. But I think with BANGDUK,
when are you uploading this, Mirko?
YouTube.
When are you uploading this?
We're uploading it tonight, like right now. It's 12:30 a.m. We're uploading it
tomorrow.
right. Yeah, technically
Today.
today. Exactly. So there you go. Last but definitely not least, we're gonna be talking about another transfer, or another, I would say, change, Arashi. It's a title change. Age is now the head coach. It was Taxstump who started off in the season as the head coach for EVOS Legends, and I think Arashi can back me up on this one too. I said to Arashi, I was like, I think Age should have been the head coach if there's no Zace. Obviously, if Zace is still in this roster, I would say Zace, but Age over Taxstump, I think. At the start, that was just like maybe you can say I'm a bit biased because I've been a big fan of Age for a long time.
Why?
Because he was a Bigetron Alpha coach back in season 7 when they went all the way to second place. And made it to the grand finals, gave EVOS Legends a run for their money. And I've always been a big fan of his drafts. Been a big fan of the playstyle that Bigetron Alpha had back then. And in ISF, in the EVOS Legends that we've seen find a whole lot of success, Zace was obviously the head coach, but Age played a big part as well as the main analyst. I've heard from some sources as well that in the EVOS Legends ecosystem, how they utilize the coaching staff is Age is more of the in-game guy, and Taxstump is more of the out-game guy. He's the guy who really like settles or gets the team into a good He's the morale guy. He boosts the morale of the entire team,
Which is important.
It's a very important role. But to have him as a head coach, I think it was a bit of a misstep from the management side, because this is the guy you want as the head coach. This is the guy you want making those shots on the stage when it comes to the drafts especially. And with this, I honestly feel like EVOS are going to be much stronger. Just this little change, again, maybe biased because I'm a fan of Age, but Tax Stomp, I think an analyst role is just more suiting of him, and Age as the head coach is more suiting for Age. So I think for both of these coaches and for the team as a whole, it works out, right?
Right, and maybe it also plays with the dynamic, right? Because if he's the mood maker kind of guy, maybe the team would struggle to like respect his drafts, right? Maybe because like he's our guy, he's our buddy. Because that's a real issue that a lot of teams really face. So maybe that now that you flip it over, and of course we had a bit from Age as well when during ISF we had one of the nights where he randomly showed up because we were like, oh, Age, you're here, like calm down. And we just like roped him into a, I don't know.
It was your birthday surprise.
Yeah, during my birthday surprise where I got like thrown into a pool. Once we were done, we were like just chatting with everyone else, eating the cake before it went bad. Spoiler alert, it did go bad, unfortunately. The hotel fridge wasn't cold enough. But anyways, we roped Coach Age in, and we had a long conversation about how it works in EVOS, what role he plays, how he likes his strategy, his formula. And yeah, I agree with Mirko. I think in the head coach position, it has a lot more potential. He's a man with vision, right? And I feel like with vision, it's hard to, have vision and be in the back seat, right? That's a bit of a conflict there. So I feel like being in the main coach seat would suit him a lot more. And he is a very dangerous drafter. I mean, Mirko was a big fan for a reason, right? And Mirko was able to actually predict a lot of his drafts. So
yeah.
If you guys think Mirko is good at drafting, Coach Ake is on a similar wavelength. It's scary, man. So you can expect a lot more creative drafts. And I think EVOS is a team that have a lot of creative possibility as well, right? They have a lot of players and a lot of different play styles that can be flexed around here. And then we saw in the current meta, that is dangerous, right? In the current meta where counter picks and flex picks can be used so dangerously, I feel like Coach Age is definitely a threat. So this is yet another switch in coaching staff that could have a lot of potential. Of course, there might be, a adaptive period for EVOS, but I feel like in the end of the day, he's gonna come up with something crazy.
There you go. So Age as head coach and Taxtom as analyst. That's it. That's the SarCAST, man. It's 1 hour. We made it all the way to 1 hour. I think it's been a long time since we hit the 1 hour mark on a SarCAST, but I really hope you guys enjoy this kind of format. I think it works a bit better, especially when we got an RRQ fan in the building, technically, right? The reason I asked Arashi to join in, he got the wrong side of his logo. But Arashi just being Arashi there. But yeah.
I invited Discord, bro. Come on. Cut it out.
There's no worries though. Again, I invited Arashi because he's an RRQ fan. Obviously, it's great to have the dynamic of the two-man SarCAST after doing SarCAST for a long time just alone. We did the first few SarCASTs together, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and check Arashi's socials out. He might be doing some live streams on YouTube, but he's always going to be active on Instagram. So if you want to follow his daily life aside from everything that's happening in MPL, go ahead, follow his Instagram, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Everything is going to be linked down below. Also, if you guys are new to the channel and you guys enjoy the content, please do click the like button. Tell me what you guys think about everything we've been talking about. We will have a special SarCAST episode about the Indonesian national team, or just all the national teams for SEA Games. I think we'll be recording it live tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, we'll have a lot in store for the channel. I'm really tryharding because we got a lot of news, a lot of things, a lot of content to be made. So go ahead, subscribe, like, tell me what you think of everything in the video. Peace out, boys and girls. Arashi, any last words?
Wow, you put me on the spot here. I thought you were gonna go straight to the outro, but yeah, thanks for supporting Mirko, man. Yeah, Mirko's a great guy. Wish him all the best. He is definitely tryharding, and in a way, we all wish him the best. So I hope you guys watching do the same. We all on the catcher desk wish we can do as much as he does, because he is just 24/7, man. I've never seen. He's one of the people I know, like no cap, who works the fucking hardest. That warrants an F word, dude. He works the fucking hardest for the past like 2 years. It's literally unbelievable. I'm a lazy person. Full disclosure. You can look at the state of my room, and we can look at the state of his room. All right, night and day. So give him all the support, man. He deserves it.
If you see my room, like my bedroom, it's pretty similar. We'll hide that. We don't really talk about that. Anyways, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.